talking about then the interaction with the the supernatural realm, the unseen realm, personally. How do we as Christians go about that? I mean, how do we make ourselves? Yes, we need to make ourselves aware of it, but what does that play in our regular Christian expression? And again, I'm not talking about the critics for a moment. I'm talking about me as an individual understanding this. How does it fit for us and into the transformation part? Because giving information is one thing, seeking transformation is something totally different.
I'll start it off negatively. Here are the two things we shouldn't do.
Okay.
We should not solicit engagement, okay,
Agreed.
with supernatural powers. Secondly, we've got to get rid of the Ghostbuster approach to spiritual warfare. Okay.
But I like Ghostbusters.
Well, I know.
I didn't know ghosts.
But the notion that I'm getting up today and I'm strapping my little box or little ray gun on, and I'm going to go looking. I'm going to go looking for them. Look, no.
Yeah, not that either. Not that either.
Okay, right. Jesus never said go hunt them down. Okay, but what he does do is he gives authority. Okay, based upon our relationship to him as the King of the kingdom. That when we run into these situations, okay, we do have the authority to act on his behalf. Again, assigning, we appeal to him. Okay, not out of our own strength and all this stuff. So there is this element that we may find ourselves in. And what I tell people, I know people who just was doing ministry in some country or some neighborhood, and I was convinced we had somebody who was possessed, and so they have to engage. All right. So my large general piece of advice is, no matter what the situation, the best thing you can do is speak truth to lies. Okay, there's lots of lies going on in the room that the devil has claim over this person. Okay, well, maybe they do because they have solicited it. Right? Well, the devil needs to be reminded, or the demon needs to be reminded of their destiny. They need to be reminded that their authority has been taken away. It's been handed back to them because of this person, but this bondage, can be broken. They don't have a higher authority. They have this right here, and if this person turns and repents, they have no authority there. So, I mean, that's just a simple illustration. There's a supernatural element to how we lie to ourselves about ourselves and about other people. We do not have a scripture-driven perspective of who we are in God's sight and who they are. I'll give you one illustration. Again, spiritual warfare. This basically your audience is going to have to read Unseen Realm to really follow this, or the Demons book. Okay, I have a chapter on this in the Demons book. But we basically have had 3 supernatural rebellions, okay, that are part of why the world is the mess that it is. Not just one. It's not just the fall. The third one of these is something that happens at Babel in connection with Deuteronomy 32. That's the explanation for where Daniel gets his theology in Daniel 10. It's in turn the explanation for where Paul gets his theology and basically his vocabulary for the powers of darkness in his ministry. He uses terms like principalities, powers, rulers, authorities, thrones, dominions. Occasionally he'll use the word demon, but not often, 2 or 3 times. Most of the time it's this other stuff. What do all those terms have in common? They are terms of geographical dominion. That goes back to the Babel situation, and your listeners are just going to have to read about that. But here's the point, why I mention it. In a half a dozen passages, when Paul is talking about the resurrection of Christ, he links the resurrection and the ascension to the nullification of the authority of the gods of the nations of the Old Testament, which are the principalities and powers. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to run away and take their ball and go home and cry, okay? They're going to fight for their turf. What it means is that they have no authority to enslave and claim their populations anymore. The Most High became a man, the Most High, that assigned them their authority in the first place, and then they became hostile and corrupt, and we had this adversarial relationship. The Most High became a man, died on the cross, rose again, and ascended to the right hand of power, This is why Jesus says, all power is given unto me in heaven and on earth. Okay? The
Mm.
nations that were disinherited at Babel have now been reclaimed. Okay? Jesus is the Messiah, not just for Israel, but for them too. God isn't giving up a single inch of turf on the planet. And so they are nullified. Their authority is stripped away. That's Paul. These are all Pauline phrases. Okay. So what does that have to do with our task as Christians? Well, Paul linked the second coming of Jesus, the return of Jesus, to the fullness of the Gentiles. He does this in Romans 9, Romans 11. And that means that when God has had his fill of bringing people from these disinherited nations back into the family, he's going to say it's done. The Great Commission is done. And that will be the catalyst to the revival of Israel, whatever, all Israel be saved, and whatever that means. And then the end will come, and the eschatological judgment on these gods, these principalities that was talked about in Psalm 82. That's when it happens. That's their destruction. So the Great Commission is linked to the destruction of the principalities and powers and the return of the Lord. This is all Day of the Lord stuff. And every element that I just said has Old Testament roots. Okay? So spiritual warfare, really in a nutshell, is fulfilling the Great Commission. The principalities and powers, they're bigger than demons. Demons are just, okay, they turn people into sock puppets. That's terrible and awful. But these guys are a lot bigger. This is geopolitical empire. Daniel 10, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do they fear? They fear their own destruction. Even the demons, the low-level guys, okay, they're low on the pecking order. When Jesus, don't send us to the pit before our time, okay, again, they're fearing their own destruction. That's what they fear. So how do we accomplish their destruction? It isn't by shouting at them, okay? It's by reminding them. It's a good thing to remind them that they're headed for destruction, okay? We speak truth to lies. But ultimately, it's fulfilling the Great Commission. That is the trigger to the gun pointed at their heads. So what's their mission? I get asked all the time, do the demons, do they think they can win? It's like, well, it depends how you define winning. If you ask, do they think they can kill God? Well, of course not. They're not idiots. They know that. But if winning means, hey, as long as we forestall the Great Commission, as long as we keep the church distracted, make it worldly so that nobody listens to its message, we're going to be here a long time. Because God has foolishly tied our destruction and the return of his son to this Great Commission thing. That sounds like a workable plan. Let's just distract the church and make it worldly. Got it. Okay, and honestly, they ain't doing too bad.
No, doing pretty good right now.
The thing that they fear is their own destruction. And I think it's something to be mindful of on our part, because we are an agent of the king. Okay, we have the message that if as long as we're alive, we're going to proliferate this, because as one kingdom grows, the other one diminishes and heads toward annihilation. Okay, so I just think we need to have practical things in our heads like this, and when we run into someone afflicted, we do invoke the name of Christ. We do remind the cosmic power of the way it really is. You can make us suffer, you can harass us, you can scare us. That's not going to stop us from doing what we're here to do.